All right, today I'm going to show you how to install our turn signal package. Over here is a few things you're going to have to remove in order to get where you need to get to install it. Basically your hood, your windshield, your center console. You don't have to necessarily take the dash cover off, but it does help. You can get a better view of everything. Over here is a layout of the tools and all the parts and pieces that come in the kit. The tools do not come in the kit, but we laid them out that way you can get a good view of what we're going to need. First thing we're going to install are our sensors for the brake lights and the reverse horn. So we'll start installing those. You will have to remove this cover. I've already had the bolts removed, so it's easier to take off to show you guys. Now, both sensors or switches are exactly the same. You can't mix them up. The only difference is the brackets. Alright, so now that we got our brake switch mounted, we are doing this on an amp, so we will not need the reverse switch for this particular unit. Now if you had a gas unit, you would need it. This one, the amp is going to go off of the switch itself for the forward and reverse, so we will not need this. Next, you're going to want to take your horn, mount it. Now this one you can tighten down. Next thing, we're going to grab our main harness and we're going to start feeding that through. You're going to want to remove this part of the dash, that way you can put your new horn switch in. It just pops right out. Once we get around to that side, we'll install the horn switch. Guys, so once you start getting your harness rounded, if your unit does have a winch, you're going to need this Y adapter. The part number is 19937. If that kit does not have it, you will need to order it. Like I said, it's only if your amp has a winch. When we start routing our harness down through, as you go, you want to zip tie it It just makes it cleaner and easier. Get you a handful of zip ties that will come with the kit. Make sure you route this harness, you keep everything away from the drive shaft and moving components. All right, after you get your harness routed, you can start mounting your backup beeper and your license plate light and your brake lights. You'll want to take your bracket, Try to get it as level as possible. So your license plate light, it'll be gray plug to gray plug. And your backup beeper will be black plug to black plug. When you install the brake lights, there's only 2 sets of holes that you guys can put these on, so it's kind of hard to mess up. If you have an older bed, you're going to want to put the light brackets on the inside set of holes. If you have them on the outside, when you go to tilt the bed, that will hit the tire. There's little holes drilled into the frame of the bed that you can put these zip ties up through, and it'll hold it in place. zip tie up the extra slack you have in your harness. Make sure all the wires are zip tied up out of the way from moving parts. Alright, so now that we have the tail lights hooked up, we are going to work on the turn signal bracket. I pre-assembled it already. It'll come with this bracket, a hose clamp, and 2 screws. Your ground wire, you're going to want to run underneath your bracket into the screw, tighten that down, and then this will go around your steering neck. Feed your wire down through. If you have an older model, you will have to take a Dremel tool and trim out the plastic piece that has covered this right here next to the steering. Alright, so when you come back around front after putting the turn signal bracket on, pull your harness through. Just to recap on the harness setup, with the Y adapter, again that's part number 19937. Your C1 is going to plug into your main harness on the green plug. Plug that in. And then your C3 will plug into the green harness on the turn signal package harness. And then you can zip tie everything back up out of the way. Double check your connections, make sure everything's ran correctly. And then plug in your turn signal. And then zip tie everything back up out of the way. And then we can work on putting the hood back on. We'll place it, we'll get it fitted, and we'll drill the holes for the turn signal lights. When you drill the holes, you want to measure 2 inches from the outside edge in and center it. And you want to drill with a 3/4 inch hole. I'm using a step bit. You can use step bit, regular drill bit. As long as you get a 3/4 inch hole, you'll be all right. And you want to go 2 inches off of this first line, not the outside line. Do the same on the other side. Sometimes it's easier to take the light out of the grommet and push the light in. Make sure it's a snug fit. Then once you get all your plastic and everything back on, then you can come underneath and hook up your harness to the actual turn signals, and then we can test everything. Plug it in. And there's your turn signal on the front and rear. Then you want to make sure your brakes work. When you adjust your brake sensor, you want to move it to where the light actually goes off. Then tighten it up as soon as it goes off. You don't want to push it too far because you won't be able to hit the brake and still make them come on. So you want it just barely to where it shuts off. Tighten up your brackets. That way you can hit the brake, let off, and there's no more light until you have your running lights on. Alright, so now that you have your harness ran and everything set up and tested, you can put everything back together, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us at tech support@americanlandmaster.com or give us a call.